Hi, this is the process video for one of my artworks I did in Adobe Illustrator. On screen is each step of my process, and I separated those segments of the video with timestamps. Before I begin, I wanted to show you the inspiration for the work. I actually saw this years ago, and it helped me to begin digital art. I thought, as a tribute, I would do my own version. I think the original is by Louis Coyle, but it is hard to tell because it's been reposted so many times. Anyway, I began working with a sketch I did with a brush tool. It's good to have a nice idea of how the finished piece will fit on the page. Also, notice how I've kept points of interest roughly on the rule of thirds. Right now, all I'm doing is filling in shapes and colouring them with Grayscale. I'm creating the shapes using the pencil, very roughly, just quickly making anchor points. If you look closely, I'm completely avoiding using the Bezier curve function. Instead of messing about with the handles, I find it much faster to just use the curvature tool. I pretty much use it everywhere for shape manipulation. It's only if I need something curved exactly, I would actually use the pen tool. Curvature tool is very simple to use. Double click the points to change between curved and straight. Click and hold to move them about. Small downside though, you can't multi-select. As you can see, the shapes I'm making are really not very detailed. It doesn't take much to be able to tell what the object is. Also, cutting down on anchor points saves processing power in the long run. On the grayscale, you might notice that the light values go from dark to light the further the distance. This is what happens in real life. In art, it is called atmospheric perspective, and it helps to sell the illusion of distance. Now it's time for colours. I'm not particularly trying to go for realism, but the colours are still grounded to a sense of reality. Usually I start off by making a gradient with 3 different colours, making sure I pick a foreground that is darker than the midtones. I'm also looking for colours which harmonise in a gradient. They should look like they belong together. But by all means, experiment. I made a second iteration of the same colours, just increasing the saturation a bit. I thought I didn't feel strong enough. Now I like to finish off with adding more shapes and details to every layer. On top of the current colours, which follow a linear rule, I break apart the work, adding several more shapes with contrasting colours. When exporting, tick the Use Artboards button, and it will crop the image to the canvas. Now I actually bring the exported image into Photoshop to do some minor adjustments. This step is optional, but I think it adds a final touch. In Photoshop, I firstly make it into a smart object, so any effects I apply can be edited again in the future. Then, I bring it into Camera Raw and play with the values until my liking. I've also added a grain, which is partly a personal preference, but it also helps to smooth out any gradient banding which may have occurred. I add some blur to different parts of the image, using field blur in the blur gallery. I also added some smart motion blur to particular parts as well. Then I export from Photoshop and the work is done. Anyway, hope you enjoyed the video. I certainly enjoyed making it.